Video games have transcended over the years. From the beginning, video games have been made in which there are somewhat shady characters or creatures. It doesn't matter if it was adventure, action, or horror, there were always characters that numbed us for years while we played. So today, changing a little, I bring you the content of the channel. 7 video game characters that made you shit yourself. The Last of Us is one of the most recognized games in terms of survival horror. A game with a perfect setting, a direct and emotional story, it also contains one of what is perhaps the most terrifying creatures in its saga. In the second installment, we are introduced to a creature presented as the Rat King. The Rat King is a superorganism composed of multiple snapstalkers and a Gordonflum that have been connected by the cordyceps fungus. It is the strongest known infected and as such can take enormous amounts of damage. Taking into account that this saga contains creatures that seem like a nightmare, starting the top with perhaps the most terrifying being in this game is an opening. There is not much to say about this creature since it appears for a few minutes and one of the protagonists ends up destroying it completely, so without further ado, position 7. How to forget who, perhaps the most characteristic character in terms of Resident Evil terror, having a common but terrifying appearance, Dr. Salvador has become an icon in the gamer world. A bag with holes and a chainsaw were enough to terrify thousands of children who out of curiosity played the best Resident Evil. Dr. Salvador appears as a burly villager who carries a chainsaw in his hands with a sack of potatoes on his head. We can detect him by the sound of the chainsaw since whenever he is going to attack he lets out a tremendous scream and will pounce on you with the chainsaw. Due to its size, the sack mask and its only weapon, it is very easy to distinguish from normal cattle. This appears several times during the game, without a doubt one of the most terrifying creatures in video games, ranked 6. The Witch is one of the special infected and the only one to show a passive attitude towards the present. If you look at the survivors, the Witch takes the form of an extremely thin young woman, with pale skin, long shoulder-length platinum blonde hair, sunken red eyes, and a bloody mouth full of sharp teeth. She is only dressed in a white shirt made of rags and gray-white underwear. Her most characteristic features are her 12-inch claws with her fingers stained with blood as well as her knees and feet. Without a doubt, he is one of the most terrifying characters, bringing back bad memories to all those gamers who tried this great game. Without more, number 5. The Guardian is a tall humanoid that resembles a butcher who has a safe for a head. His main weapon is a giant hammer with a pickaxe on the opposite side, and in the other hand he carries a sack full of brains from his victims. The Guardian was born from a combination of Rubik's memory of the safe where he kept his research and his unbridled fury. The Guardian represents the atrocities of Rubik's past that he is trying to keep hidden by literally crushing any that are made. Burke may also be one of the most complicated creatures to kill since he will reappear every time you kill him, not to mention that you cannot shoot him in the head since he has that safe. Position 4. Pyramid Head is a monster that appears as the main antagonist of the video game Silent Hill 2 and is also found in Silent Hill Homecoming under the name Boogeyman. This character is a monster of a human figure who always comes to an end. He wears a huge pyramidal helmet on his head. He is represented as a punisher or executioner. He is extremely cruel, violent, and usually murders those people who are devoured by guilt and feel the need to be punished. Scenes have been seen where this being is capable of abusing its victims or massacring them in cold blood. Silent Hill is one of the darkest sagas without a doubt, and there is no one better to represent it than this creature. Number 3. Chris Walker was a soldier who was deployed to Afghanistan, which explains his enormous ability when it comes to running and fighting. After the war, he was working for the Morkov Corporation as a security guard, in charge of the security cameras in one of the numerous surveillance rooms at the Morkov Therapeutic Clinic in Texas, where he received the nickname Strong Fat and where he gradually began to eat. Psychological disorders began to emerge, driven by the desire to kill. As you can see, he is overweight, although this does not prevent him from being one of the most powerful and robust variants, in addition to being quite fast, running almost as fast as thousands and being able to jump over obstacles to reach him despite not being able to. Entering narrow spaces, it should be noted that he is very tall, measuring around 2.08 meters. Chris Walker is missing his lips. It can be seen with the naked eye, and there is also a document that determines this, in addition to having lost a large part of his nose and part of his forehead, which he tore off himself. Largely due to its antagonists, and Chris Walker is one of the biggest causes of its success. This being is one of the most terrifying, but there is one who has undoubtedly surpassed it in every way, so without further ado, number 2. Clickers are the third phase of the infected. They are considered the most dangerous infected, or if they are the second most common phase, this phase begins when the subject has been infected by the cordyceps fungus for more than a year and a half and lasts until it is transformed in a swollen gordonflon, a wobbly, or simply on a stump. In this phase, the fungi have almost completely replaced the face of the game, except for the mouth. Huge bumps produced by the fungus have sprouted. Because of this, clickers are completely blind and have to use echolocation to be able to move around their environment. To use this ability, they produce grotesque clicking sounds for which they are named. After a year since the infection spread and panic began, the existence of clickers was discovered since they have had prolonged exposure to the fungus. After 20 years since the infection, clickers are some of the most common infected, mainly runners and stalkers. Curiously, most of the snappers seen in the game appear to have been women to finish the top. One of the most terrifying creatures in all video games. Number 1. Before finishing, I wanted to send a greeting to Ola Pero, Eric Cloud, Farron, and the Minister. These people gave a greeting for this video. If you want a greeting, just write it in the comments and I will definitely do it. To those same people, I asked them to comment on what they would like to see on the channel. So I have ideas. If you like it, I invite you to like it and subscribe. Sharing also helps me a lot, so we can reach 10K. When we reach 10K, I will do a 1-hour special of whatever you want. So without further ado, until next time.